The room is quiet, but your mind is not. You sent a message hours ago. No reply. Your chest tightens a little. You tell yourself not to care, but the thought keeps circling back. Did you say something wrong? Did they see it? Are they ignoring you? Your brain cannot tolerate the simplest sentence in the world. I don't know. This tiny gap in knowledge behaves like a crack in the wall of your security. Uncertainty is psychological quicksand. The more you struggle against it, the deeper you sink into anxiety, overthinking, and compulsive planning. The brain evolved to predict threats, but now most of your threats are invisible. Unread messages, unclear futures, mixed signals. Søren Kierkegaard once called anxiety the dizziness of freedom, the vertigo that appears when you realize how many different futures are possible. Your brain does not experience that as awe. It experiences it as a problem to solve. When something matters to you and the outcome is unclear, your nervous system often reacts as if you are in danger. The amygdala, which helps detect threat, lights up and sends signals through your body. Heart faster, muscles tighter, senses sharpened. Your system is preparing you to act, even when there is nothing you can actually do. In the modern world, that danger is rarely a physical attack. It looks more like, will this relationship last? Will this career move ruin everything? Did that conversation change how they see me? Your brain still jumps into problem-solving mode. It assumes, if I think hard enough, I can predict and control what happens. Overthinking becomes a survival strategy, an attempt to outrun uncertainty with logic and imagination. Psychologists call this intolerance of uncertainty, the belief that not knowing is dangerous, unacceptable, or unbearable. The more someone feels they cannot handle ambiguity, the more the mind demands guarantees, reassurance, and plans. So the brain improvises. If it cannot get real certainty, it settles for the next best thing, the feeling of certainty. A decision appears. At first, you research. Reasonable. But then, the research mutates. You're no longer gathering information. You are chasing relief. One more review. One more opinion. One more pro-con list. The same pattern shows up in reassurance. You replay conversations in your head. You reread messages. You ask people, are you sure it's okay? Not once, but many times. For a moment, their answer soothes you. Minutes later, the uncertainty grows back. These behaviors act like mini compulsions, quick rituals that briefly lower anxiety by creating the illusion of control. The mind whispers, if I plan enough, check enough, analyze enough, I won't have to feel this fear. But the relief is rented, never owned. The Stoic Epictetus warned that suffering multiplies when we try to control what was never ours to control. Your mind tries to manage outcomes, other people, even the future itself, instead of focusing on your own judgments and choices. Planning itself is not the enemy. Planning turns against you when it stops helping you move forward and becomes a way to hide from the raw feeling of not knowing. Think about the big decisions in your life. At first, planning brings clarity as you compare, think, and consult. Then something shifts. You pile on more spreadsheets, more scenarios, more imagined futures. You become busier, but not braver. Here the brain confuses control with safety. It treats uncertainty like a technical error that extra thinking can repair. Yet uncertainty is not an error in the system. It is part of reality. No amount of imagining tomorrow can guarantee that you will not suffer, fail, or regret. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the future lies outside his control, and that only his response in the present truly belongs to him. When the mind treats not knowing as an emergency, planning stops being wise preparation and quietly turns into panic. You end up in a strange frozen state, too anxious to act and too unsettled to rest. Beneath all this lies something deeper. Not knowing does not only threaten your plans, it threatens your identity. Not knowing whether someone will stay with you reveals that you cannot guarantee being loved. Not knowing whether your project will succeed reveals that you cannot guarantee being impressive or admired. Not knowing who you will become reveals that your story about yourself is unfinished and may not match your expectations. Overthinking is not only an attempt to control the future, it is also a defense of who you believe you are. If you can explain, anticipate, and prepare for everything, then maybe you never have to feel how vulnerable and finite you really are. Existential thinkers, such as Nietzsche and Kierkegaard, saw something else in uncertainty. For them, uncertainty is not the enemy of a meaningful life, but the condition that makes courage, responsibility, and real choice possible. So what can you do if your mind reacts strongly against not knowing? The goal is not to erase that reaction, but to train a different response. The first shift is small yet powerful. Move from "I must get rid of this feeling" toward "I can survive this feeling." When uncertainty hits, notice what happens in sequence. Notice the tight chest, the racing thoughts, the urge to check, to send a message, to search for answers. Then pause. For a few breaths, refuse to perform the usual ritual. In that pause, you teach your nervous system that this level of discomfort is intense, but not deadly. You cannot control when clarity comes, what others will choose, or which exact future will unfold. You can control how honestly you look at reality, how bravely you act, and how much dignity you bring to the experience of not knowing. Not knowing is not a defect in your mind. It is a doorway. The real question is whether you let your brain's fear of that doorway rule your life, or whether you step through it anyway.